I always say, like, some of us are more queer than others, you know. I mean, I think...
That's true.
I think, you know, I think of myself as being kind of, in some ways, more queer than others, and then in other ways, I'm a bit of a kind of straight homosexual as well in some ways. You know, it's just, you know, it's not about sexuality. I think that's what I'm beginning to realize as I get older. When I was younger, I was a bit more unforgiving about, you know, that everyone should come out and everyone had to tell everyone their business. And as I get older, I feel like, you know what? I'd rather, if you've got nothing positive to say, I'd rather you just kept quiet.
Because when you're outing people, like when certain blogs or in the media, we're constantly saying, is he gay or is she gay? Usually it's a he, but I feel like, why do we want them to come out of the closet like that, kicking and screaming? That's not a good influence.
Well, I always say to people, you know, it's good for your health, your mental health, but I think that's different from kind of forcing people to say things they don't want to say.
Have you met people in Hollywood that are closeted that you know that they're gay and that you keep that?
Not Hollywood, I don't hang out in Hollywood, but everywhere else. Of course, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you know, I've got friends who prefer not to kind of say what they are, and you know, I think, you know, I kind of think as long as you don't go around hurting anyone else, you can do what you want, as far as I'm concerned. Right. You know.
You said earlier that you were in a relationship, a monogamous relationship in the 80s. Are you talking about your relationship with John Moss?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm really curious about this because I read your book.
He wasn't monogamous, but I was.
I read it, Take It Like a Man. I love it. I love that book. I don't know, I've heard that you don't like it anymore.
Well, no, I don't mind Take It Like a Man. The second book I wrote, Straight, I don't like at all.
Why don't you like it?
Because it's awful and it's negative and bitchy and vile, and no, it's just, I don't know who that man is. I don't know who he was.
Well, I thought Take It Like a Man was so entertaining. And
yeah, it is, I think. Yeah. It is. I like that one, yeah.
Marilyn. What is going on? Where is Marilyn today?
Curdling the milk of human kindness.
Sucking blood. Okay, anyway, your relationship with John. Was he one of the loves of your life?
Well, you know what? As I've got older, I've kind of reappraised a lot of my loves, because I think when I was younger, you know, I thought that obsession was love, and now I think it's more of a sane feeling. I think when you're young, you just think that, you know, if someone fights with you and abuses you, that's love and they care.
Excitement.
And actually nowadays I have, you know, I wouldn't say that my relationship is only less orthodox, but, you know, I certainly don't, you know, I don't want to fight with people I love. You know, I don't really want to be suspicious of them, and I think, you know, I certainly don't. I look back now and think none of those relationships are really love. I think love is a very different thing, and I think it takes years to develop, and I think it's...
Have you been in love? Are you in love right now?
Yeah, I think I've been in love, and I think I always think I'm in love, you know. But I don't know, I think my expectations are different now. I don't have ridiculous expectations of a relationship. And I think when I was younger, I was always dyeing their hair and dressing them up and trying to change them. And I think the trick in life is to kind of love people as they are, or just keep away from them.
Or alienate them.
I just don't think you can, you know, people change because they want to. I've only changed because I wanted to. It's not because someone else made me. And I think that you just have to love people for who they are and let them be who they are. And if you don't, then you shouldn't be with them.
Do you feel changed? Do you feel like a different person than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
When you were last
4 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. I mean, I think that for me in the last 2 years, there's been some real changes. I mean, obviously over the last 5 years, there's been a lot of changes, but in the last 2 years, there's been some really fundamental changes. And they're not kind of even things I can explain, really.
Right.
But certainly my outlook is very different to when I was here 5 years ago. You know, I'm a different person. You know, I'm surprised how different I am.
Do you notice the differences in your interviews? Because I've been reading and watching a lot of your interviews, and I was thinking if I had to interview you in the 80s, I might be a little nervous. You were a little...
I was a bit spiky, but you know, it really depended on the day. I didn't have an off button in the 80s. And for most of the 90s, I didn't have an off button. Right. I've only really discovered my off button quite recently. And, you know, someone said something to me a couple of years ago. I'd done an interview with someone and I was quite defensive. They were kind of attacking me and I was defensive. And this friend of mine said, you know, never defend yourself, you know, because you just come across badly. And she said, look at your really early interviews when you first started, when you had nothing to prove and you were much more flirtatious and less defensive. And I think that, you know, this business and being in the public eye kind of makes you develop new defenses on top of the ones you already have, and so you become quite complicated.
When you're touring clubs and you're surrounded by a lot of people who are under the influence, is it difficult or challenging at all when you're trying to maintain your sobriety?
No. I mean, I think once you make that decision to be clean and sober, there's nothing that will get in your way. I mean, you almost don't notice it. I think, you know, when you're in it, you notice it and you're always looking for it. You know, you're obsessed by it. And then once you get clean, you know, I mean, I think, you know, it's vibrational. I think you change the vibrations around you. One of the interesting things about getting clean from drugs is that a lot of the people that perhaps were negative, you know, influences in your life, they just go. You don't even have to tell them, they just go. It's like they evaporate, it's like they disintegrate, you know, they turn to dust, literally. And I think, you know, there are some people in life who benefit from your, you know, from your tragedy. There's a saying, tragedy always needs a hostage, or seeks a hostage. And I think you get people that, you know, when you're not well, they love being around you because they feed off that, you know. And then when you're clean, it's like they don't want to be around that because it's just, I don't know, that they can't bear the light. Right. The light becomes too much.
Is God a part of the new you? I know you were into the heart.
I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist. So yeah, I'm a Buddhist. I always was, I think. You know, and I love Krishna and I love the devotees, and you know, I learned a lot from that. You know, I learned a lot from that experience. I mean, the '90s for me, there was that
video of Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So
well,
beautiful.
I think, you know, for me that song is one of the most. It's a very powerful song. It's very simple, almost a silly song, but singing it live, it just brings so much joy. And you know, I went back to. I used to be an SGI Buddhist, you know, 15, 20 years ago, and I went back to it this year, and I really, really love it, and I've kind of really embraced it. You know, it's Tina Turner, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's good enough for Tina. It's good enough for me. You know, I've kind of gone back to it because it, you know, when I went back to meetings, it really spoke to me. You know, it really made total sense to me. You know.
Do you get more from those from a spiritual meeting than like an AA or any kind of like drug counseling meeting?
Well, they're very similar. Yeah, you know, but SGI Buddhism is very like NA. You know, because basically it's all about culpability. When you chant, you're chanting. You're saying, "I believe in the law of cause and effect," which is karma. And you know, NA is all about culpability. You know, what have you done? How have you put yourself in this situation and what are you going to do about it? Which I think is kind of life stuff, you know, it's life skills, you know. And you know, when you get it, it's amazing. When you get it, it's amazing. When you don't get it, it just feels like alien and you just think they're all crazy.
Right.
But when you actually get it,
when you become a part of the same thread because you're connecting to their energy.
You're connecting, but also I think what it does is it kind of gives you back your humanity, and I think that's a wonderful thing. You know, where you actually start to actually like other people, and you're not threatened by them. You know, you're like, oh, you're quite nice. You know.
I remember you said once that you came out when you were 15 years old. That's very young. Did you ever feel any shame about your sexuality?
In a strange sort of way, you know, when I was a really young kid, I never thought being gay was wrong.
Is that because you were such a big Bowie fan and he was?
No,
sort of
I don't think it was because I knew I was gay long before Bowie. You know, he just confirmed it. I was like, I must be gay. Yes. But I think for me as a kid, I don't know, I wanted to be liked, and I knew that being gay made me unpopular. I used to hear kids at school saying, you know, poof and queer, and you know, so I knew that it wasn't something people liked you to be. So, you know, there was obviously a little bit of kind of fear in that respect, but I kind of always liked being gay, and I've always kind of felt like it was my calling, you know. I never wanted to be straight. Not that I think being gay makes me superior. I don't.
But I sort of think it does. I feel like there's
You do?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think it does.
There's so many creative people.
Well, the thing you have to remember that we wouldn't be here without straight people. They make it possible. So I think it's really important to kind of honour our creators.
That's true.
I would say it takes two of them to make one of us, you know. Whenever I meet anyone homophobic, I always remind them that they're actually solely responsible for my existence. You know, it was your fault.
Wait till you have a child.
Yeah, it's your fault. But yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's kind of amazing that we're still having these conversations. You know, I travel a lot, and I'm amazed that around the world, you know, there are still people really struggling, and there's still kind of countries where you just can't be free. So we're very blessed to kind of live in the places that we do, you know.
That's true.
Yeah, you're on TV, you know. It's amazing. I just spoke to another lovely drag queen.
She was fabulous.
Yeah.
Connie Smudge.
Absolutely. So, you know, and I was recently in Costa Rica, and they had their first ever drag interviewer, and she was so lovely. And that was great. It was the first time. First.
Very
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what's your biggest wish for 2013?
Well, personally, obviously, you know, I want to make some beautiful music, and I've been writing in the last few months. You know, I've kind of neglected my singing for a while, and now I'm going to kind of
get back to that.
Yeah, I've been writing a lot of songs, and
Thematically, what kind of songs are you writing?
well, you know, I'm one of those people. I write all sorts of different things. So, like, I've got kind of dance stuff, and then I've got kind of really poppy stuff, and I've got kind of, you know, I've written this song that I really want to do with Debbie Harry, called Just Enough Love. And in fact, I was just speaking to her friend just now in my hotel room, because I put the feelers out recently. Said I've got this song. It's very Blondie.
That would be legendary.
And I was like, I really, because we're friends, me and Debbie, and I've always talked about doing something, but I've never had the kind of balls to present her with an idea. And I've done this thing, which is very Blondie, which might put her off. But she's apparently says she's interested, so this could be good news.
That's exciting.
I'd like to kind of do things like that. You know, there are loads of people I'd love to work with. Debbie's obviously one of them. I'd love to work with her. I love her voice. I don't know really. I don't know. I'll think about it. But
Have you always loved Debbie?
always, since punk days. Yeah.
Anyway, so nice to meet you. Thank you
Nice to meet
very
you
much.
too. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.